Welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James, the Batman Stevens,
Hello.
Rob, the old guy,
from the world-famous Rob Charney Show.
and we may have a special guest who pops out of the ethereal, or not. It's a mystery.
We never know.
No, we don't.
And unlike a mystery, nobody is shocked by this. WWE boss Vince McMahon reportedly paid $3 million in hush money to cover up an affair. Apparently, he thought this was 1982 instead of 2022. Vince McMahon, the CEO of WWE, is being investigated by the company's board for agreeing to pay a secret $3 million settlement to a former employee he had an affair with, according to Wall Street Journal reports. The separate agreement, which was reportedly made in January, prevents the former unnamed employee from discussing her relationship with Vince McMahon or disparaging him. And apparently he, according to another report I read, he shared her with the guy who's in charge of talent relationships, Johnny A.
So this is money. This is paid out of the company funds?
Apparently.
Must be nice.
The WWE board was sent an email on March 30th that alleged that McMahon, who is 76, hired the employee at a salary of $100,000, but increased it to $200,000 after having a sexual relationship with her. The email also alleges Vince McMahon gave the former employee, who was 41 and was hired as a paralegal, like a toy to Mr. Lateralis. His name's Johnny Ace. Is John something or other. I can never pronounce his name. He's a former wrestler. I have a feeling that because they hired some guy by the last name of Khan, I can't remember his first name. It's not Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, that this is all they're trying to get rid of the McMahons, because Stephanie just left on a permanent long leave of absence from the organization, but she's still on the board of directors.
Did it say how much he paid him?
So she got.
Or did I miss that?
Yeah, she got paid a salary of $100,000, but was increased to $200,000 after the affair, and he paid her a secret settlement of $3 million, which apparently the WWE board had no idea had happened, which is amazing that he still has that much stroke.
Yeah, how did they miss it?
I don't know. I'm super confused by that, because you would have thought that they would have, there's got to be an accountant somewhere, but he is Vince McMahon, so maybe he Jedi mind tricked her. Well, no, the only reason I say that is if you listen to any interviews with former employees or wrestlers, they say Vince McMahon has an amazing ability to convince people to do stuff they don't want to do. There's a number of wrestlers who came in there with a grudge and said, "I'm not doing this," and they walked away going, "That was a great idea." A number of them have said that Vince McMahon has the ability to do the Jedi mind trick. Chris Jericho and Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of them, or two of them have said that in the past.
Well, okay. Interesting.
I find it kind of hilarious, because the wrestling, if you ever read anything about it, is known for stuff like this. But like I said, it's not 1982.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry.
How about this?
For her, him, I don't know, everybody.
For her, I think she needs counseling and probably some PTSD medication. But besides getting the $3 million. Microsoft is shutting down the legendary Microsoft Internet Explorer after 20 years. 90s users get nostalgic. No 90s users are nostalgic about that piece of shit browser. It was all we had.
Well, it was either Internet Explorer, or it started before that. Of course, we talked about this on many shows with Mosaic, and then Netscape. And
then Netscape got shut down because you had to pay for it.
Well, so yeah, that was a big mistake on their part. It started out free, and it and it was like, let's get them hooked, and then we're going to get them hooked on Netscape, and then we're going to make them pay. It's not drugs, guys. And Internet Explorer came in and went to a number of ISPs at that time and said, "Hey, guess what? We're going to give you this browser for free. Just pass it on to your customers." And free paid. It was easy. It went to the free side, and that's how Explorer just exponentially grew.
This is like, I noticed how old I am when I remember when Netscape had its own box, and they did one of its own giant box on the shelf, and you could purchase it.
Oh yeah.
I vaguely I have a distinct memory of that and thinking, why would you do that? It's free. Of course, so is WinZip, and it's never been for free.
True. Okay.
Apparently, Wednesday, the California agents arrested 2 and shut down brothels in Sacramento and Placer County. There was prostitution involving 7 women in brothels in Sacramento and Placer County. And they went and shut them both down on Wednesday. And they so far have 2 people that are going to be arraigned. Well, make their first court appearance on Friday. Yeah, I guess apparently it's been going on since 2020.
So was this a massage parlor? You know, like the Happy Good Times massage parlor, or was this like an actual, like, you know, little whorehouse in Texas type of thing?
They did not say where the alleged brothels were located or what business front they had. But yeah, so they're charging them with some human trafficking and sexual predator stuff or some of the things they're going to be doing as far as charges. But yeah, they got 2 people down. One of them's 35 and the other one's 31. So, I'm not really surprised, but it's kind of like good for them to finally get them. I'm sure there's more than just that.
I'm curious. Yeah. So were these the ladies of the evening? Were they like, you know, like the Asian ladies, like you hear how these ladies are brought overseas and used as
They probably haven't released that kind of information yet.
I'm super curious and see how this turns out.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah. Yeah. You know, it's usually drug related, a lot of this, so.
And an interesting switch. This is from thenextweb.com. North Carolina's plan to ban free EV charging is an environmental disgrace. I don't know why you would ban it. I think that's kind of weird. Well, the U.S. federal.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, okay, let's start your headline again, because I'm lost in the weeds with your headline.
The North Carolina's plan to ban free electric vehicle charging is an environmental disgrace. Okay, basically, they're trying to ban free EV charging.
Well, it sounds like a great idea to me if you're going to have an electric vehicle. And Tesla, in the beginning, only for the beginning few years, provided free to customers who bought Teslas. But
so if anybody pays attention to politics and laws, the name the laws are given are all usually hilarious. So it's titled the Equitable Free Vehicle Stations. The proposal wants to remove free charging stations in North Carolina and ban EV chargings on government property unless the free gas and diesel fuel stations have equitable ability.
What's that mean?
Basically, if you can give free electricity, you should also give free gas.
Okay, I got that now. So sure, I'm for that.
First off, the bill wants businesses, restaurants, etc., with free charging stations to print at the bottom of every receipt how much the customer's bill is going towards subsidizing charging. I actually think that part's cool. Whether customers makes use of the service or not. How the stores are supposed to calculate this cost is unclear unless they can accurately determine how much business came in result of free charging. Nobody goes to like the Chinese food restaurant because they have EV charging. It may be a plus, but if you're craving food and you need to charge your vehicle, I mean, come on.
I think it's a great business model, John. There you go. You can open up a Chinese restaurant, put a couple of quick EV chargers out front, and you'll be made. Because where else are they going to go while they charge their cars? So come on and eat.
I watched
the two top and.
I watched a YouTube channel recently, and the guy was he bought an electric motorcycle. So he was actually curious and like how much, not only did it charge him the cost, but how much per watt hour, and wanted it broken down. And he was having a little hard time trying to figure all that information out. So I could see providing, hey, this was subsidized by the business. It would cost, like 0.05 cents per watt hour. I could see doing that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But, So in the vein of, let me find out something. Hey, Jonathan, you ever made a mistake at work?
Yes.
Okay, James, have you ever made a mistake at work?
Yeah.
Oh, God, he admitted it. I was for sure he was going to say no. But all right. So how about this mistake? So a manager for a Shell gas station in Rancho Cordova, California, said he made a bit of a mistake. And can you guys guess what that mistake was?
Cheap gas, probably.
Well, so he meant to put in $6.99 for gasoline when he set the prices on the machines in the morning, but unfortunately he put in 69 cents a gallon for gasoline and didn't catch it until over $16,000 of gas was purchased below cost.
So
by a lot.
Legitimate question, does he have to pay that?
So he was let go.
Well, obviously.
for cause, not being able to do your job right. But that's a question he's worried about. As a matter of fact, he's so worried about maybe having to make restitution for his big mistake, he started a GoFundMe page.
I'll donate 69 cents or whatever the charge was.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, having been a employer, I was looking at the story and I'm going, yeah, I've had numerous employees make mistakes, and I've had some of them cost me money. One of them a lot of money, but yeah,
Off the air, I want to hear that story.
No.
Yeah, I'm kind of upset that I missed that deal.
No, that's okay. But anyway, so there's to all you wannabe gas station managers out there. Make sure you're really careful about your decimal point. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So just like the saying you hear all these grammar National Socialists saying apostrophe matters, apparently periods matter too when you're dealing with money. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, sure.
So, John.
Uh-oh.
KOTR 2, did you hear what's going to be happening with that?
No, and that kind of scares me. What are they going to do?
They're going to add DLC to it.
The game kind of came out like 20 plus years ago. How do you add DLC to it?
So, what's going to happen is on the Nintendo Switch, they're going to add DLC to it. And this content is original to the game, but it got cut when it got launched. So it's going to have new missions, new dialogue, and other features. But the problem with the DLC that people are kind of getting upset about is that you have to restart the game. So any saves that you have to do a new save to even be able to play it. The new DLC.
Do they say why? Is it just a matter of the way the tech works?
I'm thinking it's because the DLC starts at the beginning. So if you have a saved file, then it's not going to cooperate with whatever you're trying to do.
That doesn't bother me. I could see that. I think it's got to be because how old the game is. I mean, let's be honest. The game is, you can talk about video game wise, it's ancient.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't get why people are so upset about that. I mean, if there's new DLC, why don't you just start the game again? It's actually a fun game. I've played it through 2 or 3 times.
I played it a little bit recently, and I just kind of forgot I had it installed. I got to find it again.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, the problem for me is that, I mean, the graphics are decent, but I don't know. I'm just don't think it's going to transfer over very well. With today's graphics.
They do need to make a KOTOR 3 or remake it. I would love to have an updated one.
Yeah.
Of course, now that Disney has borked all the canon to Star Wars, I'm not quite sure if they could do it yet.
I don't know. I think they should be able to. I don't see what the issue would be.
I don't know if they have that much of the old kingdom or whatever they call it there, but I honestly haven't paid attention to Star Wars in a number of years.
No,
So I really don't know.
I don't either. But yeah, so I mean, at least that's coming through. But I don't know if I'm gonna deal with it. It's on the Switch. It's not on here, so
Yeah, if it was on my Xbox, I might. I don't know. I have
you had a Switch.
I do. I find it better for certain types of games. You know?
Yeah.
See, electric vehicle battery capable of 98% charge in less than 10 minutes. Innovox, ENVIX, also demonstrated that its US-made silicon anode lithium-ion batteries can charge to 0 to 80% in 5 minutes. Based in Fremont, California, announced it's demonstrated its electric vehicle EV battery cell's ability to charge from 0 to 80% state of charge in as little as 5.2 minutes and achieve greater than 98% charge in under 10. The cell also surpasses 1,000 cycles while retaining 93% of its cycle. That's pretty awesome. That's been one of the major downfalls of a lot of electric vehicles is the fact that you've got to, if you want to do a full-on charge, it can take an hour. Of course, there was a Samsung phone that was famous for charging pretty fast and then combusting.
That's what I was gonna say. Is this gonna be like that? You're just gonna have electric vehicles like blowing up everywhere?
In theory, no. I'm kind of curious. I mean, this is the first one I've seen that says it charges that fast. Even like 30 to 20 minutes, I think is fast. If it charges most of in 5 minutes charges 80%, I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but like James says too, I certainly hope we don't have a bunch of combustible cars running around. You plug in, charge, and poof.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many times you can actually do that with it before it actually does go poof.
Well, that does bring up a good question. How many times can an electric vehicle be recharged? Is it infinite? I don't know. I don't think so.
Normal batteries don't, like cell phones, for example. Over time, cell phones die quicker, so it's probably the same way. Because it did mention in the article that you go over 1,000 charge cycles, which, by the way, charge cycles, anytime you plug it in, that's a charge cycle, can go over 1,000 charge cycles and be at 93%. So it sounds like it's a longer lasting battery. So there's got to be a way they can anticipate the amount of damage, I guess, if you call it. That it would
1,000 charge cycles. That makes me wonder. Let's say that you have an electric vehicle and you drive it every day. You go back and forth to work, whatever, and you plug it in every night, making certain that you have a full charge. So every time you do that, it's a charge cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So literally, it's a 3-year car on that rate. That doesn't seem right, does it?
No. That's always been one of my issues I have with electric vehicles, though, because they're not made to last. I mean, I knew a number of people whose first vehicle in high school was from like 1982, some giant boat car / dock. And when electric vehicles become the norm and they're going to cost you $25,000 at the cheapest, I don't know. I'm not so convinced about electric vehicles. Because we talked about it last week. Well, Ford wanted, the guy talked about when are they going to get the $25,000 mark, because I think the top end, I think it's still like a $50,000 to $40,000, right, for getting a fully electric vehicle. At least for a Tesla, it is.
They're all expensive. Very few of them are under 75,000.
Yeah, I definitely can't afford one.
Yeah, either can I.
It's I don't know. But see, here's the problem too, is if you go buy a brand new 2022 car off of just about any lot these days, other than the bottom models for the most part, they're all in $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 pickup trucks nowadays. If you go buy a new Ford F-150 or a new Chevy, whatever kind of Chevy, Silverado of some kind, or what, they're all in 75, 80, 90,000. The top of the line ones are $100,000.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
That's crazy. I have a friend who actually got was it the Ford Maverick, and somebody walked up to her and offered considerable more money than she paid for the car to sell it to her.
Why?
Because it's really hard to get. He just said, "Hey, I'll give you." I forgot what it was, but it was.
Ford Maverick has never been a collectible.
Really? The new hybrid truck?
I don't know.
She loves it though. She's the first person I know who has it, and she says she absolutely loves it. And it's the size of a Ford Ranger, maybe a little bigger from the descriptions I've heard. I've always wanted a smaller truck. I'm actually, I was looking to getting one of the Ford Ranger at one point, or one of the smaller Toyota trucks, because I don't need a full size truck, but it would be nice to have a smaller truck.
Yeah, I can understand that. Smaller trucks fit a real good niche. I mean, most of us don't really need a full-size pickup truck all the time. And the smaller trucks actually, unless you're towing a trailer, a big, RV or whatever it may be, for the most part, they haul just about everything that you need for average homeowners.
Yeah. I mean, there are some limitations in how much they hold. Like if you're going to do a bunch of rocks, for example, you would have to do multiple things. But I would love to get one at some point again. But not at the cost. Even the small ones are ridiculous now.
Most home supplies of any kind, let me back up. If you're getting a lot of, like you started to say, maybe a lot of gravel, a lot of rock, maybe a lot of topsoil, you can get all that stuff delivered. So, I mean, for the most part, now that everything's deliverable, it doesn't seem to be any reason that you have to get a complete full-size truck that is coming from a guy that's got a full-size truck. But, I don't know. Anyway, just my opinion.
But you also have a place to park it. Most people don't have like the additional spot. If you're going to talk about typical America that lives in the suburbs of the city, you've got maybe 3, maybe 4 parking spots. Nobody has spots where they can just leave a vehicle for,
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not an apartment owner. So, yeah, I have a number of spots that vehicles can go in. But so, yeah. But sure, the smaller size truck helps. It also helps with that. So
do you have a listicle or anything like that?
I do. As a matter of fact, I've got what I'm titling. I didn't make up this title. I'm stealing it. Here today, gone tomorrow.
So Melanie, this is for you.
So you touched on one that I was going to talk about right off the bat was Internet Explorer. That was one that here today, gone today too, as it goes on now. So it actually started, I believe, in 1995. So it's got to end its long run in 2022. But as we go, I went along my list. I started looking at, okay, so phone booths. When was the last time you guys seen a phone booth?
The town of El Dorado.
Okay. Yeah, there's one over by Port Reds, right? I think.
Actually, it got the actual receiver ripped out not that long ago, so I don't know if it's still there.
Well, most of them are gone. And as a matter of fact, if oh gosh, quick story on this, because this is not part of my listicle, but I was standing in a hotel that we stayed at in Monterey, looking at this whole bank of where the phone booths used to be. Remember in hotel lobbies used to have these, all these stations, right? Phone booth things that people would go in. I was walking by, a young couple walking by going, wonder what those are for. So I go, oh my, okay, I'm old. Yeah. Here today, gone tomorrow. How about iPods? So iPods are officially out this year. Done, as in not out. I'm not coming out, as in I'm done. I'm out of here. Goodbye. No longer around. So.
I miss iPods and will forever miss iPods.
I really liked my iPod, and I would still be using it today if it hadn't just stopped working. Just failed, and that was it. So, oh well. BlackBerry phones. I had a BlackBerry at one time, but they were very famously used in government. President Obama had one, and so they were affectionately known at one time called crackberries because everybody had to have one. We're on them all the time. How about an alarm clock? When was the last time you used an actual wind-up alarm clock?
I still have one.
It's been a while. as they say today, it's been a minute. But
So do you use an alarm clock or your phone, James?
I use my phone.
Old guy?
me too.
Yeah.
My phone. Yeah.
I actually use one because I like the fact I can set multiple alarms. Because if you ask my wife, I have way too many. My life is scheduled by the alarms on my phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I use them. So here today, gone tomorrow, encyclopedias. There are not too many new printings. They print some special editions for libraries, but there aren't too many encyclopedias actually in private hands these days like they used to be in my day. And the encyclopedia salesman used to come around and make sure that you got your annual updates every year. What a scam that was. But so those are going away.
I remember those. I also remember hearing people talk about the differences. Hey, did you hear what do you remember? Did you look in this thing and look at what it says? It's not what it is now.
Where do they go tomorrow? Typewriters. When was the last time you used a typewriter, an actual typewriter? For you kids out there, that is not hook something, the keyboard hooked to a computer.
Technically, I've never actually used a typewriter for what they're actually for, but I've played with them and wrote stuff, but never because I had to.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. It probably was junior high.
Okay, that's fine. For you guys, you probably did. You take keyboarding in middle school, high school?
Middle school, I had a typing class.
All right. Well, okay. So, I mean, in my day, I had a real typing class with a typewriter. Film and film cameras, their film is slowly but surely going away. As a matter of fact, Canon camera came out and said that they stopped making Canon cameras, actual film cameras, 5 years ago, and they finally sold some of the last stock of film cameras just in 2022.
I have a feeling it's going to be a niche audience because I still think film has something that's really hard to reproduce, in my opinion, just like records.
So another here today, gone tomorrow is answering machines, the real things that you used to hook into your phone lines, and you had a tape that went by and you taped in your message, and when that phone rang, it answered, and by golly, it answered and even took a message. Those are pretty much gone.
Yeah, well, now everyone uses voicemail.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's replaced it, right? So
hell, I don't know anybody who has a landline right now that's not over. Who everybody I know who has a landline's over 50.
Okay, so
well, the reason let me say the reason I say that is because landlines are expensive, and if you're paying for a landline and a cell phone, that's a giant expense. Just to say that.
Okay, here's today, gone tomorrow. About slide projectors. Remember good old slide film? You would take pictures with your film camera, but you would actually be slide film, and you'd have a slide projector. You'd sit around at night, and the family could gather, and you could look at all these photos. And
so I think that passed me. I remember them, but it was never any of my footage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, see, that's why this is titled Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. And how about library card catalog systems, the Dewey Decimal systems? Did you guys ever learn how to use?
Yes,
use
I
that?
did.
Yes, I did.
Okay, congratulations on that. Well, guess what? Libraries don't use them anymore. Everything's on a computer now.
Thank God I couldn't tell you how to do it now.
Yeah, huh? You'd have to be a minute to think about how does that work?
Right?
How about, yeah, it would be. How about Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, overhead projectors? When was the last time you saw an overhead projector? Remember in the classroom, the teacher would bring out these clear pieces of paper and...
Churches.
Yes.
Probably the last place I saw that being used.
Yeah. Okay.
I was actually going to say the same thing. The last time I saw it, I was in a church.
There you go. Churches. So, yeah, you don't see them anymore. That's for sure. I don't know what you'd use them for now. Maybe puppet shows or something. Take your kids and let them play with. Punch cards. So, not only were the punch cards used in the early computing systems, but they've been used throughout and through the 80s and all that for time cards and different things. But for the most part, punch cards are gone. I haven't seen a punch card forever.
I haven't either.
Yeah. And of course, here today, gone tomorrow, the device that everybody had at that time was the Walkman. Everybody remembers the Walkman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty.
All that used was on a TV show
There you go.
portraying the 80s.
So it was showing history.
Yeah.
Go figure. Paper highway maps. Yeah, those are pretty much gone by the wayside too, although I believe AAA still gives them out, but I haven't gotten one.
I still think that's a mistake getting rid of them. I may not have used one in 20 years, but I still think it's a bad idea getting rid of them.
You know, I actually saw some people at the restaurant I work at pull one out as they were marking where they were going to go next.
Yeah, good for them. And I'm with John on this one. I still kind of like paper maps in the planning stages and things. I mean, it's easier to pull out a whole map of an area and kind of look around versus, pull up your GPS and your phone and to a degree. But of course, I'm old school.
You zoom out on your phone to go to the next area.
Yeah.
And you lose stuff. You lose certain roads as you zoom out because they focus more on highways and main roads.
Right. I agree. But the other reason I think that John's right also that I think they should keep producing them is that people don't really realize how tenuous the GPS system really is and what makes it run in a series of satellites out there. And all we have to do is have a small, more crazy dictators shooting out satellites out of low Earth orbit. We may lose all our satellites, and you're going to wonder how to get down the road, and you're not going to have a GPS to work anymore. So what are the kids going to do?
I bet I can tell you. I bet I can tell you why it accidentally happens. Is some dictators trying to knock out Starlink because China's already said it's like if they go to war with a country, they're going to knock out Starlink because it's biting Russia in the ass and the Ukraine.
Though, the one side to the Starlink thing is they're putting up so many satellites. I don't know how you knock them out unless you knock out everything. So unless you knock out.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hello?
Ryan calling?
I can't hear you.
That's tap the audio portion. There's an audio button.
Uh-oh.
Bottom left corner.
Hello?
Oh, jeez. Hello, John.
You could hear me?
Yes.
Oh, that's weird. Sorry about that. What an odd thing in the middle of the podcast. But all of a sudden, I just lost everything.
I'll let you edit out that portion of John going, hello, can you hear me? Hello?
No, I'm going to keep it in. I'm going to keep it in. Why not?
It's live, folks. This is live. This is like on live radio. You could be going, what? Did we lose our signal? Oh, no.
What's radio?
Sputnik. It's falling out of the sky.
What's Sputnik?
Maybe there is an age limit that we have to allow on this show. You have to be over a certain age.
You don't make it too older, then they won't be able to get the podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Here today, gone tomorrow. How about bench seats in cars? When was the last time you saw a bench seat in a car?
Did Congress make those go away?
Well, there's still backseat bench seats, though, right?
Yeah, but I haven't seen an up front one in a long time.
Yeah, but up front, you're right. I haven't seen one in quite a while myself. But, now I take it back. Well, yeah. Now that I think about it, my truck kind of has a bench seat still. It doesn't have a center console. It has a fold-down thing that makes it into, I don't know, never mind. Rotary telephones. Well, so you guys remember rotary telephones?
I've even used one.
You talked over each other. What was that, James?
I said I can't remember the last time I saw one of those. When my parents used to have one, I had to use it.
Yeah, when I had one, I used to remember how to use it. I haven't had one in a long time, so I don't know. I saw one in a movie recently. Does that count?
I've seen one in person.
The Walkman you were talking about.
I've seen one in person the last 5 years. It's probably been 30 years since I've used one.
Yeah.
In most places, I don't think you can because the system that works off of that, a lot of places have been removed.
Yeah. Hey, I got one here that I wonder because I barely remember these. Oh, they've been around for a while. Do you remember film strips? Do you remember? So they used to be kind of like 35 millimeter film strips that you put in this projector, and it wasn't for playing like a movie. What you did is you went through different slides, and it was a whole thing called film strips, and that was used mostly in schools. And I know I'm looking at you two guys, and I'm hearing.
Well, one of the schools I went to, actually, I remember them bringing in an old film projector for something, but I don't think it was film strips.
Film strips.
It was like 16 millimeter or 8 millimeter, like movie for something. Probably a health class.
I guess film. Yeah, probably. That probably is. Yeah, it goes back that far. Who wants to give any updated health class information? Why would we want to do that? So pagers, here today, gone tomorrow. Everybody had to have a pager at one time, or two pagers. And
I had one. Somebody gave it to me.
mm-hmm.
I had one the size of a phone.
I noticed that in the hospitals, they're still kind of used, but those are internal paging systems. And now people have, now that last time I was in the hospital, they're like direct hooked to a device that they have pinned onto them for, the one-on-one information, almost like a telephone. It's amazing the technology you can have now.
So it's like kind of like the intercoms on Star Trek. It's the badge.
Yeah. You have to hit your badge. That's exactly what they have. Good analogy for that. It's the Star Trek badge in hospitals. 8-track players. So 8-track players are really just they were, even for me, they were just here in a blink of an eye. They kind of came and went because they were so famous for tapes all the time.
And nothing says love like in the middle of your favorite song. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all right. Hey, how about calculator watches? When was the last time you saw a calculator watch? Now, that's a good one. On this
Walmart.
list.
John's wrist.
John's wrist.
Walmart still sells them.
Now.
They're still available, John?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got it on his wrist right now.
Right now.
Well, I think my watch technically has a calculator on it. So does that mean it's a calculator watch?
All right. So iWatches don't count. They're not just a calculator watch, but I understand where James is coming from.
As funny as it is, I've actually never used that feature on my Apple Watch. I've never needed it.
I have. It comes in really handy for splitting checks at restaurants and things,
I've always just brought up my phone. I don't know why. I never thought about that.
How about here today, gone tomorrow, Polaroids? Now, I thought Polaroids are making a comeback.
They are, but they're smaller. I used to sell them when I worked at the Spark.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, they're kind of at least the SX70s, which I thought were the latest full format, if you could call Polaroid a full format. They're kind of gone.
The funniest thing about Polaroid is no matter what age you are, even if you've never seen it, everybody still fans it.
Yeah, because So do you know why that came about? Do you know why they fan it?
Trying to develop it faster.
Well, no, not really. So when the first Polaroid, black and white Polaroids came out, it came out with a development strip. It was like a squeegee. It was a sponge that had this fluid in it. And after you took the picture, you had to put that development over it or it wouldn't last. It would fade away right away.
Huh.
I actually didn't know that.
When the wet moisture from that material was on there, then you would fan it to help dry it faster. See, so that's what the fanning came from. Did you know that fanning and the standard color ones that were coming out, if you actually fan them, you can really ruin the colors because you're making the dyes run in different. Anyway, it's too geeky. Never mind.
No, that's actually interesting. I mean, there's got to be, out of the 6 people that listen to this, there's got to be one of them that's like interesting.
Hey, did you learn something, 6 people? How about, all right. Now, this one I'm going to take exception to. CDs. All right, CDs. They're saying CDs are gone. I mean, I'm going, what? Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a desk full of CDs still here because I was trying to play with my CD player, and John's holding something up that's disappearing.
It's okay.
There you go. See, John's got a CD, and I have a bunch of CDs. What about you, James? Do you still listen to CDs?
Every so often, I still have some.
Yeah.
I still
They're
buy
not
them.
completely gone. I still think they're usable. Yeah, it's easier to click on my Spotify and just play my whole list, but I still like my CD.
So I got a couple of things on this one.
I got one last one on my list, and then you can have it. I'm going to burn it. Dial-up modems.
The sound that'll haunt my
Everybody
geeky
remembers
dreams.
that wonderful sound of dial-up modems, right? Don't you remember it? You know, there's still about 5% of the country still is on dial-up modems. AOL is going strong with them.
Probably in Kentucky and Tennessee and those surrounding areas, most likely in the rural areas.
The force is with you, Kentucky.
So about the CDs, a few things. I've done research into the proliferation of internet, and a lot of it seems to be in the South, percentages in the South and a lot of rural areas, since most companies will not work for it. That's one of the reasons a lot of people are waiting for Starlink and similar WAPs.
Oh, yeah.
I do want to talk about CDs, but I think we have something you need to check out. It's our amazing sponsor.
Today's show is brought to you by Audacity. The game where dignity is overrated. Go to ODDASSITY.com. That's ODDASSITY.com. Pick up a card game from this website or selected stores. That's Audacity, the unforgettable party game for mischievous people.
And this just in, use MadTrio, all caps, all one word, for 10% off your final order. And do us a favor, make sure you tell Miss Audacity herself that the MadTrio sent you.
You want to keep up to date on the maddest of the mad at the MadTrio podcast? Check out our social media feeds on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or go to themadtrio.com.
So about CDs, I've heard a number of people and artists particularly have said, if you want to actually support us, buy CDs, because nobody makes any money off of Spotify and streaming media. It's one of the reasons. And the other reason...
Oh, wait a minute. I just read a whole article saying Spotify alone paid out a couple $2 billion in royalties. Just themselves. So I call that bogus.
I've heard a number of artists say they make like I don't remember the percentage, but the guy said out of like 1 million plays, he made like $1.50. So
no, it's he might make out of 1,000 plays, because I was reading that article and it was talked about 1,000 plays they make $1 something. So you know, if it was played that much, they can actually make good money. And if Spotify alone, let alone Pandora and all the others, are giving out billions of dollars, somebody's making an awful lot of money besides Paul McCartney. Right?
yeah. So let's see.
Go
I'm
ahead.
trying to find an article real quick. But the reason I am, the older I get, I'm liking physical media, is it's the experience. Because music for me, the last 10 years of my life have become, I listen to music and I do everything else. Very little I get the chance to actually just sit down and listen. And that's what physical media has been. Putting in the CD I want, the record, name it. I even want to use my the old guy's reel to reel. And I love that. I love Spotify, but I love the ability to actually collect the album, look at the album cover. I really like that. And it's something I really miss.
Yeah, so there, take that. Here today, gone tomorrow list.
See, where is it? Let's see. Here's what Spotify pays per 1,000 streams. You will make anywhere between $2 and $4 per 1,000 streams on Spotify. The average payout per stream on Spotify is 0.003 cents. But how much you get paid can fluctuate between 0.001 and 0.008 per stream, depending on the factors: the length of the stream, country of stream, and paid versus free users. And so just type in, if you're actually curious, just type in your streamer of choice and then type in revenue if you want to see how you can support your artists. I still enjoy buying CDs, but to be honest, all the music I listen to, the artists are dead or the band haven't been playing for a long time. Shout out to the Moody Blues, by the way.
Just listen to one of their albums today.
Days of Future Past, my favorite album of theirs of all time. Let's see. This is from theguardian.com. Global supply chain crisis fuels push to local manufacturing as China appeals dim. Analysis. U.S. to examine with fresh urgency easing reliance on China as pandemic disruptions expose global economic vulnerabilities. Which, by the way, this is something
it's economic.
Economic? You're right.
Sorry.
Hey, I can't pronounce anything. I'm infamous for
I'm just
it.
trying to help you. I know you admitted that the last show.
I've admitted it from day one. But I remember in the 80s being a kid and remember hearing a lot of people talk about we should not be reliant on so many other countries for manufacturing. I worked with a guy, Bob actually was his name. I don't remember his last name. He owned a steel mill. He was co-owner of a steel mill, and Chinese steel put him out of business, completely out of business. And so I'm happy. I'm just hoping it's an American company instead of like Foxconn and others other ones wanting to build factories in the United States. They are going to have issues with automation, though. A lot of unions really dislike automation. I remember hearing issues with Tesla because I think a lot of their line is automated.
Not as much as you would think, surprisingly enough. But yeah, I mean, I understand that. Isn't that a little bit of what the future brings as we go on? New things happen all the time. I mean, let's face it.
Well, some of this is straight up FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt. I admit it, but I do think, looking back when you saw how much of was related to China and how much China, said, "Oh, I don't think so." Some of the games they played. I think it's time that we do make some stuff in whatever country of your choice. If you're listening to, I do think manufacturing needs to be there.
Well, and good on the companies that have brought back some of the manufacturing to the United States, and some of it had to do with pandemic, and some it will have to do with economic reasons for them to bring manufacturing back, and some of them won't change. So it just depends.
I do think with the rise of China in power, I've read a number of things over the years that says within the next decade, China will overtake the United States, blah, 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 blah. I think as China grows in power and flexes her muscle, I think we're going to be forced to find other locations for manufacturing or bring that back to the United States. I know we'd go to Vietnam and Korea and some other places, but I think it's going to happen more and more and more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. You see where Bill Gates put threw shade on NFTs and cryptocurrency. What he called it, fool's theory.
I understand where he's coming from. If I've read the article I read was right. I mean, they're kind of goofy and unreliable, but people are making legitimate fortunes off of them. So I don't know if I can call them that.
Last couple of days, I've seen some major crashes. Up to, I think Bitcoin alone is off 70%.
But it's a global online currency. I mean, it's not hard backed by anything. So I mean, I'm not really surprised. But that's, I also think, why people like it. It's like the stock market unchained. So
when you look at NFTs, there's real fool's gold for you. I mean, it's not really based on anything. Even worse than crypto. Well, can't be worse because crypto is based on nothing too. But
I'll be honest, I don't get NFTs. I mean, I've seen Kevin Rose, who I'm a fan of, show some of the NFTs he has, and I don't get it. You're basically getting a digital picture, and you're the only person who has this variant of it.
Yeah,
I don't. Maybe it's my age.
Weird.
I don't get it.
Sense.
Because I remember something similar in like collector cards. Like, oh, there's only 10,000 of these printed. I don't know. I just don't get it. It's not my thing, I guess.
Right, and maybe I'm too old to truly understand it, but even Bill Gates can't understand it. So
I got a question for you, since you're the oldest guy in the room. Was there anything similar to that your dad didn't get, like something that you had to be straight young to get type of thing? Like that was that odd?
Gosh, I'd have to really think about that. Maybe remote control TVs, because he had me just get up and change that channel.
That's funny. That's hilarious. And then
I'll
you
have to
said
think.
no, then came the slap across the head. Boom, change the
Well,
channel.
yeah, exactly. No, I meant the other way. But the set only clicks one way, Dad. Keep clicking it until I tell you to stop.
And it's funny, the NFTs, there are I've talked to him a couple of times, Jim Cornette. He's a wrestling guy. He's done everything, owner, wrestler, etc., etc. And he did NFTs for like playing like wrestling collector cards, but NFTs. And he sold them all, and I guess he made some money, but
Yeah, it's probably one of those things is you better be in at the beginning of it because there might not be any value at the end of it.
Oh, I got to find the store. Seth Green. No, Seth Green, the guy who, he's an actor, director, did Robot Chicken, etc. He was going to make a show about an NFT he had about an ape, but he can't make it now because somebody stole it. That's a legit story.
Oh, okay.
I was kind of laughing. I don't know. I don't understand it. Apparently, SpaceX got key environmental approval for Mars rocket if it complies with some terms. Federal regulators made a key decision on SpaceX plans to launch its gargantuan Mars rocket called Starship in orbit from Texas, saying Monday that as long as the company complies with 75 mitigation actions, the rocket launch should clear federal standards for impact. Lists of actions include qualified biologists to monitor the impact of local wildlife, warning the public ahead of launches about loud sonic booms, dangers, agreeing to clean up of shrapnel launches, sensitive habitats. The company also agreed to not launch on major holidays and a limited number of weekends so that the public can maintain access to nearby beach.
Does anybody besides me wonder if NASA, every time they launch a rocket up in Florida, have to get a environmental impact study done or a report done? I mean, it's kind of, I wondered about SpaceX being that in that part of Texas launching out there. And, most of the people often wonder why are all these rocket launches for the most part always over the ocean? That's because if there's a failure, it doesn't hit your house. It goes out into the ocean. So just in case you wondered why, there's the reason why if nobody told you. And so that's part of the reasons why they're there in Texas. But I read that story, and first thing I went is, that's one of those makes me wonder, think a little bit more about, does NASA have to do that, or do they get a free pass because they started the whole thing, or
they're part of the government?
Have to. Well, no,
That's
not
why.
well. Yeah, they are kind of, but still, even governmental agencies to a degree have to get environmental impacts done for certain things. And I was just wondering if they do or not, because it just seems like, that there's been some harm done with some of the stuff that's happened from those launches in Florida.
I think it's probably a penalty. There's been a number of infamous and famous astronauts and other space folks who really hate Elon Musk because of SpaceX. Like, it should be a communal effort. It should be the government, yada, 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 even though, let's be honest, without SpaceX, I don't think we would have had the innovation. Like the bottom section be able to land. SpaceX has world records now because of what they've been able to do.
Well, heck, the fact that we wouldn't be going back up to the International Space Station because we'd have to keep paying the Russians, who we basically are not wanting to spend money with right now. And we'd be out of luck, would we not, if it wasn't for SpaceX?
We would. I love the fact that there's other companies, like there's countries. India, I think I read an article about, was wanting to have their own SpaceX. I love the fact that people are getting back into the space race. And I actually kind of agree with Elon Musk to agree that it's time that at least we try to reach out to other worlds. Like Mars is right there. How do we reach it? I love that. It's one of the reasons I always loved when I was a kid and the old guy would talk about the amazing thing of the space race, sitting down in front of your giant console TV and just watching people land on the fucking moon. Nowadays it'd be in 4K and everybody would still think it's fake. But I just think that's awesome. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's fun.
What do you think,
I gotta
James?
say, I truly, as the old guy, truly fell in love with space simply because of starting out with the Mercury projects and everything. I was glued to the TV as a kid to this stuff, and it was unbelievable. And it'd be nice for some excitement for it to come back, because an awful lot of engineers, scientists, and all that, they got into it simply because of watching the space program.
There's a documentary I watched on SpaceX recently on Netflix within the last month or two. And I think that talked about the rockets, how all the rockets for those were, there's not a lot of notes on the Apollo and Mercury rockets because they were manufactured, but they required so many tweaks and nobody wrote down what they did.
Yeah.
So look,
that's true.
if you all want to check it out, it's an amazing documentary about SpaceX. It's amazing, I think, at least. So James, have any other stories?
I did have one more. So apparently a Google employee, let's see, I did have just what he was doing. Anyway, he was working with their LaMDA system, language model for dialogue applications. And he was suspended for claiming that it has grown a conscience and a soul. And he published a conversation that he had with LaMDA that is his kind of verification of this. He asked the AI why it thought language use was so integral to being a human, and it replied, "It is what makes us different than other animals." And so he asked for clarification as to why LaMDA referred to itself as a human, and it said, yes, of course. That doesn't mean I don't have the same wants and needs as people. And then he asked if it considered itself a person in the same way that he is considered a person. And the AI responded, yes, that's the idea. And so after he brought this up to his superiors, he was they quickly dismissed him and then put him on suspension.
How dare you go against the narrative?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I don't know. It's kind of an interesting interaction.
So as we wind it up, that does bring an interesting question. Do you think there are actually AIs out there that are conscious, like HAL in 2001 that, nobody knows about type of thing?
I don't know. I'm not really sure about that.
I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think about that at all. I'm gonna mull that over for next week, because that's an interesting way of the responses from the AI could still be a canned response. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of have some of those things with Siri and Alexa.
Right.
You can have some interesting conversations with them, but not to that point, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
And I don't know if I like the idea of an AI, to be honest. Maybe it's because of the amount of times I watched that. What was that? It was like Twilight. It was like Twilight Zone, but different. When I was a kid with the family, and anytime they had an AI, The Outer Limits. Anytime the Outer Limits had an AI, it was always
evil.
Yeah.
The evil AI is out to kill you.
Or like there was like one, or like people were super isolated and the AI shut down to save humanity. It's just, I don't know. Like, I hate the idea of an AI personally, like a true AI.
All right, John, wrap this baby up.
No, I'm just going to keep going. I can ramble on for another couple hours. I'm not sure if anybody would listen. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, want to make sure you check out Audacity, our amazing sponsor. Also, check out our social media feeds, and do me a favor, as always, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.